Okay, class, may I have your attention? Good morning to each and every one of us. My name is Howard L. Johnson, and today we are the one who is assigned to teach you for today. So, ang magiging lesson natin ngayon is the structure and properties of water. So, matatakal natin yung molecular structure ng tubig, physical properties, thermal properties of water, solvent and properties, hydration and solution chemistry, surface and capillary action, and biological significance. So, before we start, I would like to ask John Ronald Pasis to lead the prayer. Okay, class? Let's pray.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Ronald Pasis. Let me lead the prayer. So, first, let's bow our head and let's pray. Dear Lord, enable me to teach with wisdoms. Empower and encourage every student I reach. Grant me patience to guide and compassion to understand each unique soul. May my word inspire and my actions show care and love for every student in my church. Help me sow curiosity, ignite passions for learning, and nurture the dreams that resides within each heart. Amen.
Now, let's check your attendance. Very good. Perfect attendance.
Good day everyone, I'm Angelica Eulalio and I will be discussing to you the molecular structure of water. But first, let me introduce to you what is molecular structure. A molecular structure or a geometric structure is a three-dimensional structure that shows and determines the atoms in a molecule. So why is it important to study molecular structure? Because studying molecular structure, the scientists and students can determine the polarity, reactivity, magnetism, etc. of a molecule that can help them to prevent accidents in laboratories. Now let's go to molecular structure of water or H2O. So the formula of water is H2O. So as you can see here, we have two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom. And hydrogen atoms is smaller than oxygen atoms because hydrogen atoms has only one shell, while the oxygen atoms has two shells that consist of 8 electrons and it has a 6 valence electrons. So the 2 valence electrons are now bonded with hydrogen atoms. That causes the hydrogen bonds to have a net positive charge, while the 4 remaining valence electrons are not bonded. That causes a negative net charge. So because of these charges, the water are now polar. And because of the polarity of water, it can now form a hydrogen bond. So that's all about the molecular structure of water. Thank you for listening.
Hi everyone, my name is Ronald Pasis and I'm here to you to present the different physical properties of water. So let me first explain what is water. So water is a chemical compound consists of 2 hydrogen atoms bonded to 1 oxygen atom with the chemical formula of H2O. It is essential for life in the earth. So ang water is the only natural substance na meron sa tatlong states of matter, which namely solid, liquid, and the gas. So first, let me explain what is density. So density is a varies temperature that reaches in a maximum density at around 42 Celsius. That's why ice floats. So doon sa density, pumapasok yung tatlong states of matter, which is the liquid, solid, and the ice. So imagine a glass of water. You put an ice. Anong nangyayari sa ice? It floats. Tama. Because ice is less denser, or a solid water states is much less denser than a liquid. Why? Because a water na na water na solid is nagpo-compact ng atomic molecules ito. Unlike the liquid water na kalat-kalat ang atomic molecules. So doon nagmumula ang density ng isang water. So next, freezing and boiling points. So at the standard atmospheric pressure, water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius and it boils with a 100 degrees Celsius. The next one is the surface tension. So surface tension is the water molecules at the surface are attracted to each other, creating a surface tension. I have the example of surface tension. Imagine a water na kayapa lang. And pag nakikita nyo may magagapang inside it, that's a surface tension. Kasi binibreak nila yung rule of water na makakagapang sila sa water. So next is the heat capacity. So heat capacity is a water has high specific heat capacity. This property helps moderate Earth's climate and regulate the temperature. So dito sa heat capacity, it plays a crucial role para malaman natin ang states or regulate ng climate natin or atmosphere sa ating Earth. So next one, solvent properties. So water is often called universal solvent. Bakit nga ba? A, water is often called universal solvent because solvent has the ability to dissolve a wide variety of substance due to its unique molecular structure and polarity. So, ganun nangyayari ang solvent properties at yun ang explanation kung bakit universal solvent ang water. Kasi water is the only substance na nakakapag-dissolve sa lahat ng bagay. The next one is the cohesion and adhesion. So, unlike most substance, water molecules are cohesive, which is they stick together. Next one is the adhesion, na they stick naman to a substance, which allows water to move against gravity and plants through capillary action, and it helps form droplets in a surface. Yun lang ang report.
Okay, so good morning to each and every one of us. So, let's move on naman sa thermal property of water. So, let's take the example of a glass of water. So, yung laman ng glass of water nito is mga water molecules. So, they are arranged and doing hydrogen bonding. So, hydrogen bonding is a very strong bond that keeps these molecules together. So, pag wala yung bonding na yan, yung mga dot-dot na yan, is lulutang yung mga water molecules and magiging gas na lang siya and hindi tayo makakainom. So, thank God, meron tong hydrogen bonding to keep the water molecules together. And I have a question. So, what if the sun comes out? What normally happens if you have a pool, a really big pool, and the sun just came out? Ano ang normally na nangyayari sa pool? Kahit gaano man kainit, is hindi nagbabago yung temperature. So, someday is magsuswimming ka na lang, is magugulat ka na lang, you will be surprised na hindi nagbabago yung temperature ng tubig. So, yung experience mo doon is isa yon sa thermal properties ng water. Okay, so it's the fact that the water, it takes such a long time before mag-change yung temperature nito. No matter how much heat you apply on it. So, it will take such a long time before mag-change yung temperature ng ating tubig. So, and the reason for that is because of these hydrogen bonds. So, the sun needs to supply so much more heat para ma-break down ng mga hydrogen bonds and ma-increase yung temperature ng ating tubig. Because these hydrogen bonds causes water to need more heat para mag-change yung temperature ng ating water. So, what we're going to need is 100 degrees Celsius para ma-change yung ating temperature ng tubig. And ito na yung time na mag-i-start yung ating water para mag-evaporate. Okay, so for example, it's 100 degrees Celsius. So, okay, so yung bond na to is mag-break, and then yung water molecules na yung mga yan is mag-a-ascend kung na-breakdown na yung ating hydrogen bonds. So, evaporate, dito na mag-start yung evaporation. Kasi na-breakdown na ngayon humahawak sa ating water molecules. So, mag-evaporate siya, tataas siya yung magiging gas. So, magiging gaseous siya. Okay, so imagine if you have a cup outside your house or a pool. So, di ba, imagine if you have a pool, so, pag wala nang nagre-refill doon, is unti-unti siyang mauubos dahil mag-e-evaporate yun. Kasi nabi-breakdown nga yung bonds ng water molecules and which leads sa pag-ascend ng ating mga water molecules. And that's because of the high temperature. So, yung high temperature is ito yung nag-break down sa ating mga molecules para mag-evaporate yung water. So, if 10 degrees lang ang boiling point ng water is magiging imposible na ang lahat. Okay? So, pag 10 degrees na nga lang yan is hindi ka makakainom. And then also, pati yung dugo mo is mag-evaporate siya or magiging gaseous siya. So, it's impossible. So, thank God that we have the high specific heat capacity of water, which is 100 degrees Celsius. So, and I also forgot to mention that due to the hydrogen bonding of water, so it has a high specific heat, which means a lot of temperature is required to change its temperature. So, ayun nga. So, high specific heat means that kinakailangan mo ng very high temperature upang mag-evaporate yung ating water. So, kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina is magiging imposible ang lahat pag we only have a low heat boiling point. Kasi mag-evaporate ang lahat. So, mayroon akong example dito. Sige lang. So, yan. Okay, here. So, we have methane. Okay, so we have an example here. So, we have methane. So, this is the methane is the exact opposite of water. So, this is not polar and the water is polar because of the bonding. So, sa bonding is yung oxygen is nababind siya sa ating negative oxygen. So, positive and negative attracts. Pero hindi siya applicable sa ating methane because kumpleto nga yung kanyang bonding. Okay, so yung methane natin is wala siyang heat capacity. So, as soon as the sun comes out, is mag-evaporate na siya or at this time is gas na siya mismo. So, kahit 161 degrees Celsius is gas na siya. Okay, so for example is we go for running. So, we get, pag na-exercise tayo is we get really warm and we start sweating. So, everyone knows that. So, ang nangyayari doon is pag tayo nag-sweat is mag-evaporate yung water. Since yung katawan natin is composed of 70% of water. So, pag tayo nag-sweat is mag-evaporate yung water together with the heat. So, ang katawan natin, yung katawan natin is nag-generate siya ng heat, which leads na i-break down niya itong mga hydrogen bonds. And also, water acts as a coolant. So, here. So, water can also act as a coolant because when we sweat, the water from our body evaporates, and since it took a lot of energy to break the hydrogen bond, it means that when water evaporates, it takes heat which it thus cooling down the body. So, pag nag-evaporate na daw yung tubig, is yung nga, kasasabi ko lang, is sasama yung heat together with the nag-evaporate na tubig. And which, yun yung nagpapacool down din lang sa katawan natin. Kasi yung nag-evaporate na hydrogen or yung water is kasama na doon yung heat na generate ng ating katawan sa ating katawan na nag-break sa hydrogen bond. So, water can also act as a coolant. Yun nga. Okay, so, next na po.
Let's start with the question, why water is considered universal solvent? Do you have any idea why water is considered universal solvent? Anyone from the class? Yes, Miss Aison? Yes, you are right. Water is referred as the universal solvent because water has the ability to dissolve a wide range of substances. But aren't you wondering why table salt is dissolved in water? Well, we'll discuss that later on. Water has the ability to act as a solvent due to its polarity. When we say polar, the other end of the molecules has partial positive and the other end has partial negative. Take a look of this picture. It is the water molecule. The two ends of this molecule is the hydrogen, which is positive charge, while the other end, which is the oxygen, is negative charge. Water's polarity allows to dissolve other polar substances very easily. When a polar substance is put in the water, the positive ends of its molecules attracted to the negative end of the water molecule. That attractions cause the molecule of a new substance to be mixed uniformly with the water molecules. Consider the sodium chloride. Sodium chloride, or the table salt, is a polar substance, which it is easily dissolved in the water. Sodium ions in the sodium chloride have a partial positive charge, while the chloride ions have partial negative charge. Eventually, this causes the atom within the sodium chloride molecule to pull apart and dissolve. That is our topic regarding the solvent properties of water. Do you have any question about this topic? If none, let's proceed to the next topic.
Good afternoon, class. So for this afternoon, I am going to discuss to you the hydration and solution chemistry as part of our topic, properties and structures of water. So, by the way, I am Olivia Diaison. So class, para mas maintindihan nyo ang ating lesson, I bring here water and sodium chloride, or mas kilala natin sa tawag na salt na ginagamit sa pampalasa ng pagkain. Now, I'm going to put the salt on the water and I want you to observe what will happen, okay? So, ilagay natin yung salt sa water. So, as you can see class, yung salt natin is na-dissolve siya ng water. And on our previous discussion, we described water as a universal solvent, which means it can dissolve a wide range of solute. But now, what I am trying to point out here, class, is the process. And that process is what we call the hydration. So, ano nga ba ang hydration, class? Do you have any idea about hydration after our example? So, if none, then let me discuss to you that hydration refers to the process of surrounding solute particles with water molecules when it dissolves in water. So, gaya nga ng nangyari kanina, kung saan yung salt na tunaw sa water, it's because the water molecules, it surround the solute which is the salt kaya siya na-dissolve. And take note, class, na yung water molecules na yun ay tinatawag nating hydration shells. So, ano nga ba ang hydration shells? Hydration shells is the arrangement of water molecules that surround the solute particle. So, if you are wondering kung bakit there are a lot of powders like salt, sugars, and many more na nade-dissolve ng water, it's because aside from water being universal solvent, it undergoes to the process of hydration, and with the aid of hydration shells, those solute can be dissolved in water. And this hydration shells, class, it helps the solute particle in the solvent. It prevents them from recombining or precipitating out of the solution. So, next, class. Water solution chemistry encompasses the behavior of water as a solvent and its interaction with solute. So, napaka-importante na mapag-aralan natin ang solution chemistry ng water because it plays a crucial role in fields, for example, in biological, chemical, industrial, and even medicines. So, class, always remember that water, being a solvent, sustains life and drives technological innovations. So, class, that's all for our hydration and solution chemistry about water. Do you have any more questions? And if none, then let's proceed to our next lecturer.
So let's proceed to another topic, which is the surface tension and capillary action. So what is surface tension? Surface tension is a phenomenon that occurs when the molecules in a liquid or mixture of liquid and solid particles attract each other due to intermolecular forces. This attraction creates tendency for the liquid to remain in the vicinity of the solid and liquid surface. When there is an imbalance of the intermolecular forces, this can create a forces that act in a direction perpendicular to the surface. So there is a surface tension on a liquid droplets. The tendency of the droplets to remain in the shape. Due to the surface tension, a drop of liquid touches a surface. The drop will tend to assume a concave shape. So what is capillary action? The capillary action is the process whereby a liquid flow into a narrow space, a tube or a syringe without any external apply. This flow caused by the intermolecular forces between the molecules of liquid when creates a surface tension. So there is two expression of capillary action. The first one is the expression capillary raised. The capillary raised expression for the raised of column of fluid due to the capillary action. So the second one is expression capillary fall. An equation that describes the effect of surface tension and gravitational forces on the movement of liquid.
Good day to each and everyone. My name is Althea Marie P. Corpus, and my topic is pH and ionization. So first off, let's talk about what is pH. So pH stands for measurement of hydrogen ions present in a particular substance. That hydrogen ion concentration P percentage hydrogen. One of the things that messes people up about pH is that it is an inverse logarithm. So what is inverse logarithm? Inverse logarithm is a scale that where each time you increase by a factor, it increases by 10 times. So if you go from a pH of 7 to a pH of 8, then it is at 7, and this continues all the way up on the scale. Other things that are logarithmic scale, we have logarithmic scale for the Richter scale. So what is the Richter scale? The Richter scale is a measurement of severity of the earthquake. That means 6 on the Richter scale is 10 times stronger than earthquake measuring 5 on the Richter scale. So this is what is a logarithmic scale does to pH. It is really confusing though, because it is an inverse logarithm. As the percentage of hydrogen ions increases, the number on the pH scale goes down. And this is what messes people up when it comes something is more acidic or it has lower pH, or it doesn't make sense and doesn't mean a whole lot to those of us that are trying to memorize this stuff, but that's what causes issues to what is the safe pH. So let's talk about the safe pH. So the safe pH range, and a human being generally accepted the numbers are 7.35 to 7.45 pH. And that means that we're slightly alkaline and we aren't very acidic, normal above or a little bit above normal, because that's the way our systems are. We like to be buffered and against acidity, so we try to fight against acidosis in our homeostasis. So next is, we're going to talk about ionization. So what is ionization? Ionization is a process by which an atom or molecule gains or loses a positive or negative charge as a result of chemical changes. An ion is an electrically charged atom or molecule that results. If the ion has negative charge, it is called anion. And if it is positive charge, it is called cation. Ionization can occur as a result of the loss of an electron in collision with subatomic particles, collision with other atoms, molecules, and ions, or interaction with electromagnetic radiation. So now I'm going to conduct a demonstration to explain the concept of pH and ionization of water using a simple household item, which is the vinegar and baking soda. So here I have prepared a bottle that has already a vinegar on it, and also a balloon that has a baking soda on the inside. So first off, I want you guys to observe what will happen when I mix these two. So first off, I'm going to open this bottle and then twist this balloon. Then I will put it on the top of the bottle and then twist again. I'm going to twist. So as you can see, what happened was the balloon is blowing up. It is because of the reaction between baking soda and the vinegar, which is the sodium bicarbonate and acetic acid, that it produces carbon dioxide gas, which is this one, that it has made blown up the balloon, produces the carbon dioxide and water. This is an example of acid-base reaction. The vinegar, which contains acetic acid, is an acidic solution with a low pH, while baking soda is when you dissolve it in water, produces a basic solution with a higher pH. The reaction between vinegar and baking soda demonstrate the neutralization on process, where an acetic acid and a base react to form a water and salt. That concentration of hydronium ions and hydroxide ions in water is balanced, resulting in neutral pH of around 7. An acetic acid solution such as vinegar, there is a higher concentration of hydronium ions, which give it a lower value of pH, below 7. While a basic solution such as the baking soda, there is a higher concentration of hydroxide ion, which gives it a higher pH value, above 7. So now I'm going to show you an example of dissociation of water and autoionization of water. So first off is, I'm going to show you the example of dissociation of water, which is water to hydrogen positive plus hydroxide ions. And the next one is the example of autoionization of water, which is the water plus water to hydronium ions plus hydroxide ions.
Hello class, good morning. Nandito ko sa inyong harapan para ituro ang biological significance of the structure and properties of water. We have here the nutrient transfer. It's like delivering groceries to different parts of our body. At ang water, nagsusubing the river track na nagkikiring ng essential nutrients. It's like a river flowing through our bodies, making sure na lahat ng mga cells na nasa katawan natin ay makakuha ng nutrients para maging healthy at mag-function ito ng maayos. So, meron din tayo dito temperature regulation, essential for maintaining internal stability in organism. Ang water kasi, meron siyang properties na high heat capacity. Siya yung nagpo-control na kapag naiinitan tayo, kaya tayo pinagpapawisan kasi nilalabas natin yung heat sa katawan natin. Nababawasan yung init na nasa katawan natin. So, meron yung tayo dito metabolic rate. Chemical factories inside our cell. Ito ang nagtutulong para maging smooth ang mag-react by dissolving substances and watery environment. So, basically, ang water ay ang nagkikip ng metabolic reaction para maging smooth ang pagpapatakbo sa ating loob ng cells. So, class, hanggang dito naman tayo. Sana may natutunan tayo sa topic natin ngayong araw. At bago tayo mag-dismiss, bibigyan muna ako ng assignment na gagawin nyo dito. Magdala kayo ng food coloring at tissue, saka plastic cups. Mag-experiment tayo bukas. Yun lang at pwede na tayong umuwi.